is a mute button on that telephone, okay? Where's your Mr. Reynolds? Oh, he's there. Oh, excuse me. I did not.
Evening, gentlemen.
Hey, Mr. Reynolds.
Hey, Mr. Reynolds.
We're just getting feedback. Is anybody here at the device? The microphone is turned on right now. Let's see how Could somebody, could Troy, can you just talk to us a little bit so I can see if I can get the sound in here right?
Miss McDuffie, you are echoing, but I can hear you when I first came on. Is everybody in here?
All right. Charles, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Mr. Freeman, can you hear us? Mr. Freeman, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you once in a while.
Okay. I'm not sure how well this works.
I'll just be in order at 6:05. Jolita, are you here with us?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Hey, Jolita, can you hear us? Hey, Jolita.
All right. Jolita, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. We're ready to start. If you will do a roll call.
Councilwoman Burns?
Here.
Councilman Sharp?
Here.
Councilman Bradley?
Here.
Councilman Freeman? Councilman Reynolds?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jolita.
What that is?
Give us just a second.
All right. Mr. Freeman, they just did a roll call, and so the mayor is looking for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made, properly seconded to move into public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All approved? Motion carried. Before we get a public hearing, is he gonna call it?
I do not know, sir.
Okay.
You still have, he started the meeting here, so he's considered still present? Yeah.
You saw his phone last time, didn't you?
Well, he was calling from his home phone this time. Okay, so Mr. Freeman, okay, we got a motion did we vote? Yeah, was unanimous.
Go to public hearing.
Okay, go into public hearing, and this public hearing is to consider the town's, being able to purchase a street sweeper. We originally were trying to get $100,000 in grant money to purchase that with. The U.S. Department of Agriculture needed a SAMS number to process the application. We got the SAMS number one day after the deadline to submit the application for the state funding. Just to make the board aware, we move forward with the hearing. The USDA then will be able to, when they have funding available next, be able to make that funding available to us. And it is possible sometime in August, they will have some funding on a national level. They just can't tell us how much that the maximum grant will be. They know it will be at least $50,000. They know that we qualify for $145,000. And at that time, we can wait and see. And sometimes they put a cap at $50,000 when they do the national polling. Sometimes they don't. If they don't put a cap on it, we will be in line because we have already done the public hearing and all of everything we submitted, everything will be straight. So we'll be in line for $145,000 in grant money. If they cap it at $50,000, then we don't have to take it. We can wait until they get next year's amount of funding, and about December, we'll have an opportunity to get funding, and we'll see what that amount is at that time to make a decision at that time. But the proposal is to do a grant loan package from the USDA, and that's what the public hearing is for. Public hearing is for if anybody wants to speak on that.
A lot of those conditions, I would say that would be what
And then this, I guess, this is the public comment, but I guess there's no, I'm sorry, I apologize. We don't, Jen, is there any public on here, other than staff members and council members?
I don't think so. There's 7 total.
Close the public hearing.
We have a question? So moved. Second. Motion is made, properly seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
So I apologize for but your thoughts on this, sir?
I was just saying, as long, so with those conditions, I'm fine with it. I just want to tie ourselves down to $50,000 grant and with, at half price, I would hold out there at $50,000. So we will have that option to accept it or deny it. They say that now.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Which they know that they understand. There's a reason we qualify for $145,000 in grant. That they understand that, and so therefore they know that we're probably not going to have 50,000. They cap it. We're just going to wait less than we'll tell them otherwise. The national polling date actually takes effect on August the 7th, and that's when the local offices have to send to Washington, D.C. how much money they have left, and then sometime after that, the national offices will announce the process and the amount that will be available. As soon as that announcement's made, then we will be able to report the tax. if,
That's kind of,
so my assumption from the board is right now, y'all give me direction differently if y'all want to. But if it's $100,000 in grant money or more, take the money. And if it's not, we're gonna wait for December.
How much is the street sweeper?
$264,000, that includes the street sweeper, the taxes, the tags, legal fees, the, everything all in is $264,000.
So you would need a motion to approve entering into the transaction if there is at least a grant of so much and a loan for the balance.
Or at least a motion just to move through the project. I think it's the motion I need is just to move forward with the project, based on amount of grant money that can come down from the USDA. I think it'd be better if we didn't put an amount in that motion, if we can not put an amount there, just for sake of USDA having to share that with the other people around.
What was the original amount we agreed on?
$100,000 was what we were trying to go after.
So we passed a motion to accept their whatever proposal they got. We could still go after the 100,000.
Yeah, and Monica knows that we don't want to move forward unless we get at least 100,000. She's aware of that.
Okay.
But at some point, the USDA next to go on and grant that moves forward, ask for the resolution from the town. Is this the resolution they're looking for?
This is the resolution basically saying that we want to move forward with the project.
Well, I think you need to put in there to move forward with the project.
Yeah.
If you get a grant, unless that's understood.
Yeah, I think that's understood. Because I don't want to say if we get 100,000, and then somebody looks at that and says, well, there's no point in us giving 145 if they go with for 100.
Okay. But everybody understands it's not going to go forward unless you get at least 100. And you get a chance to say, okay,
Right.
That's fine.
any question from anyone on the phone?
I just want to be clear that we're after 200,000, right?
Mr. Red, I didn't quite catch that question. You want to be clear on what?
Are we trying for 150,000 or 200,000?
145, sir, is the maximum we qualify for.
Well, then we need to make a motion to go for the 145 and work around that.
And,
That's
then if it's any less, I'll come back to y'all. Is that right? Okay.
It was not less than 100.
Well, we're making a motion to go forward, and then I think we have, which is not right on this, understood, if it's under the 100,000 threshold.
Or maybe what Mr. Reynolds is saying, do a motion for 145, and then if it comes back with less, then I've got to come back to the board.
That's
Otherwise,
basically what I'm saying.
if it comes in at 140, I don't think that, all you have to have is a public hearing on the project itself, not the amount. Because you don't even have to know the amount when you have the public hearing.
Did I hear you say you didn't have to have the amount to have the public hearing?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
We've had the public hearing like now, we don't know what the amount is right now, we just finished the public hearing.
okay, that's what I thought. All right, thank you.
Just a question, so what if it's under 100,000? Just saying, what if it?
Well, I can come back and ask y'all, but I'm pretty sure the question is going to be $50,000 or $145,000. I think that's probably going to be the question.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward on $145,000 and anything less, we come back to the council.
$145,000 in grant. Is that what you say?
Yeah. Mr. Reynolds, is that what you're saying? If it's 145,000 in grant, move forward. If it's anything less, come back to the council.
Correct.
Right.
Can you live with that?
Works for me. Works for y'all.
Do you have any questions about it?
Anybody want to stay?
Because people still at the proposal.
No, I just want to make sure I'm clear, go for 145,000. If it's less than, Mr. Reynolds, are you saying if it's less than 145, do what?
Then we need to come back and see what we want to do. Well, we know what, we're after what, 100 originally?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then if we go for 145,000, that's good. If we go for 100, do we need to move forward? What's your thoughts there?
We'll come back and talk about it at that point. We'll see what Monica brings to us, and then we'll get back together if it seems reasonable.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded to move forward with the amount of $145,000 in grant. Anything less, we will reconvene. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carried. Unanimous. Okay. CARES Act funding. Let me introduce to y'all our newest employee. This is Jenna Phillips, NC State graduate as of May of this year, and working through UNC Chapel Hill Fellows Program. So welcome, Jenna. And Jenna's going to present to us the CARES Act funding.
So I brought this just as a resource for you all to look over. So as you know, state, county, municipalities have been given money through the coronavirus relief fund or respond to the pandemic. So Hartford County was given $273,000 to distribute across the municipalities. So the administration at Town Hall, as long with the fire department and the police station, we got together, and this is our proposed plan. You'll already have a copy of this, but this is the most updated one on the second page there. So the deal with this funding is that it's very specific on what we are and are not allowed to spend it on. And so that front page kind of goes over the 5 broad categories that we can spend it on. But the biggest thing is that it can't be to replace revenue, and it has to be something that we need directly because of COVID-19. So as of right now, roughly, with about $210,000 in this proposed plan. So we still do have a little bit of wiggle room if you all have any ideas or suggestions on things that you think we should apply to this funding.
But it has to do with both.
It has to be COVID, yes.
This money's coming from where and how much?
The money is coming from Hartford County. It's $273,000.
And where did Hartford County get this money divided? Where it come from originally?
It's coming from the federal government. It's through the CARES Act and then the Coronavirus Relief Fund. So North Carolina got several billion, I believe, and then it was distributed to the counties. Hartford County got a little bit over $1 million, and they're responsible for distributing out $273,000 to municipalities within the county.
What is it designated for any particular thing?
It's designated specifically for the stuff occurred because of COVID-19. So we can only spend it on issues that have arisen because of the pandemic.
Such as?
Such as PPE, which is what we're going to be doing, probably our biggest bulk item. Some updated communication for public health. So we're doing video cameras and a phone system update to try and decrease the amount of contact we have between our staff and the public. And then some other public health initiatives, including the park, using that for Vidant to do the public testing, a grant to the hospital to build a negative pressure pulmonary edema, and then another large chunk of money going to Public Works to kind of make up for the lost work from the inmates that used to come and do work.
Now, this grant to the hospital is for what? What again?
It is for a negative pressure pulmonary edema.
Can anybody elaborate on that?
It's a neat piece of equipment.
Yeah.
It's a room that would take and build. The hospital has asked for that funding to be able to build that room, and a room like that is used to treat COVID patients or tuberculosis patients, and that is definitely one of the things that can be used. The money. I talked with the county about that. The county has talked to the pandemic recovery office, and they said that can be done. They were going to double check and make sure before we actually granted a grant to the hospital that amount. But that is legitimate funding.
How much we talking about giving to the hospital?
$125,000. Out of the total, the county has to distribute to municipalities $273,000.
Is Muffinsboro contributing to that and from their portion?
Any amount that the $273,000 has to be divided among, at least that amount has to be divided among all the municipalities in Hertford County. The county has indicated that none of the other municipalities has indicated that there were any application of any amount, So as of right now, the staff and Jenna's put together proposal to come up with, Jenna, what is the total? $220,000?
Approximately. We're still waiting for a quote.
Yeah, and we've got about $220,000, and we feel like we have stretched it as far as we can of what we can use this money for, because the guidelines are so limiting and so tight of what you can do with this money. This is it. This is, and it's there's probably going to be money left on the table there.
How much of this money, what I'm trying to find out is how much of this money, we get $200,000. How much is Muffinsboro, Coalfield, and Colmore and all those other little municipalities getting?
The county is supposed to come up with a formula that divides the $273,000 between all the municipalities, so that municipalities can apply for up to whatever amount. The county has not come up with a formula. The county.
How much is Ahoskie getting?
The county, like I said, the county has to split $273,000 between the municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
The county has not told us any formula of how they're splitting the money. And so any municipality who applies for this money, if the applications total $273,000 or less, then it's going to get funded what you apply for if there's a total of less than $273,000 worth of applications, because the county has to distribute that to the municipalities. So the county is not anticipating that many applications. They're not anticipating $273,000 worth of applications. And so if we submit $220,000 worth, there's a reasonable chance we'll get funded for that whole amount. But they will not tell us what amount, but we just know it's capped for all municipalities at $273. But no other municipality has even indicated submission of any application to the county at this time.
Are they aware of it?
They are aware of it. I talked to Carolyn about it, and Carolyn said she had a couple $1,000s in PPEs, but she said she had very little to submit. And this list here, that Jenna and the staff put together, they spent a lot of time on this and looking at ways we could best utilize this money and get the most bang for our buck for our citizens. And I think they stretched it as far as they could while still staying inside what is required, the requirements, and still being able to do things because of COVID. And so Jenna and the staff did a really good job of coming up with this list. You know, the two biggest things on there, the $125 for the hospital, and then the $34,000 to hire people to help our public works to offset the loss we had for inmate labor because the inmates couldn't come up because of COVID. Jenna's checked with the PRO office to make sure that could be reimbursed, and it can be. And the county's checked with the PRO office about the hospital, and they said that can be, but they'll do a second check or higher up and make sure that that can be done. So other than, those two are the biggest items, which is almost $160,000 worth of the money, leaving about $60,000 of other items. That's all we could come up with is about $60,000 of other items, unless y'all have some ideas.
So let me make sure I understand. We're the only town municipality that has applied for this money. Is that correct?
As of right now.
Okay.
That may change.
Yeah, I don't see, Kara, we had talked about seeing about relief for the non-payment of water bills the past 2 months. Was that something that could we fund a grant to our citizens for that?
We will have to do a grant program and issue vouchers to the citizens that can show that they had a COVID-related loss of income. And when we started trying to get into ones that doing the documentation on that, the staff, we had kind of two concerns. One was the amount of documentation and what we have to go through to do that. Second concern with doing that is right now, back bills, we got about $39,000 in back bills to us. If we do some kind of grant program and do a debt relief of some of that money, the COVID comes back strong in the fall, which would not be a surprise to see when you get back in the flu season that COVID come back. And the governor does another one of these, you don't have to pay your water bill if. It might encourage people to not pay a water bill if they know that we give grant money to people who didn't pay the water bill. And that just, yes, sir.
For Mr. Reynolds and myself, the grant money has been proposed. If we don't spend it, it's not going to get spent at all because the other municipalities haven't put in anything, correct?
As of right now, that is correct.
But then I make a motion that we accept this proposal and let's get it in motion so that we can do it right now.
Agreed. Mr. McDuffie and Mayor, sorry, just a couple of questions about the money that went to the county. Are they taking any of those funds, and you may not know that, the answer, and providing PPE to the schools, the local schools for that? Do you know if any of that funding is going to the local schools?
I know that part of the county's budget had PPEs in it, but it didn't say, is it going to social services, sheriff's department, schools, what division of the county. So I would assume some is going to the schools, but that's an assumption, of where the county's is distributed those PPEs that they're putting in their budget. Okay.
I think that this is, you've done a great job of figuring out where this money could go. And I agree with Mr. Freeman. I think that, we need to at least make some type of effort to take care of this funding, and especially for the hospital, because that negative pressure room is important. That's one of the treatments for those COVID patients, and it's very important for them to have that. So I think that would be good for the citizens of the town. So do I need to second Mr. Freeman's motion?
Question.
Yeah.
Second.
We still have some questions,
Oh, sorry.
because I don't think we were clear, you had a question about it, so are we saying that it's not possible for us to have the grant?
It is possible for us to do a grant. I think you're going to create I think we're going to create more problems than we're going to solve by giving grants to, to individuals who couldn't pay a water bill for COVID. Because we've got to come up with the circumstances of why and how much money do you want to grant to each individual, and that kind of stuff.
I think that was a motion on the table to accept it the way the young lady presented it, and it was second. You answer the question after that.
We had a question before that, that didn't get fully
There was
answered.
a question before that was discussed.
Yes. That's what I mean.
I just,
I don't think we want to get into water bill paying.
agreed. And I agree with Mr. McDuffie. It's going to be extremely difficult to get the citizens to actually complete all the paperwork that needs to be completed so that you can have that documentation. Because what you don't want to come back is the government to come back and say, oh, well, we need that documentation and we don't have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. I don't think that that's a good idea. Sorry.
Just a question, just a question. If we needed documentation, we have documentation, you just said it was like $39,000, so you have to have it documented that it's $39,000.
What we do need to do is we'd have to document each individual and why we're giving grant money to that individual. And we can come up with a statement that would say that the person has to sign that says that I lost my job or I lost income because of COVID. And I don't know how much you want to check up on follow that statement, or just if somebody's willing to sign that statement and notarize it. We take their word at it and then move forward. And then if we do that, y'all need to give us an amount of how much you want us to, like a maximum amount per grant. And is it for people who's already paid their bills, or just only for the people who still owe us a bill? And if y'all just give us some guidelines of how y'all want to do that, if you do, but
it was just a question.
yeah. But the documentation will be per person that receives the grant from the town. It couldn't be just here's a blanket, we pay $39,000 for utility bills, because we can't. And there was, on the phone call, when there was a statewide phone call, the state actually said on that we had to write the check to the individual, and then that individual would go pay their bill with us. And the way
They're not going to pay their bill.
because now most situations, and what I would, if y'all want to move forward, what I would just call the PRO office, and make sure we could issue a voucher from the town, then they go turn the voucher in, and the town pays it directly to the water system, because that's how most people that pay a utility bill pay it through a voucher system. They don't handle the money anyway. It have to be a voucher system where they will never get paid.
That answers my.
Any other questions related to the grant idea?
Mr. McDuffie, what's the normal amount of, water bills that typically don't get paid?
We normally cut off between 20 and 30 people per month is the average. Last month, if we did not have cut off utility bills, it would have been about 180 people we have cut off for non-payment.
So approximately how much money is that?
$39,000, I believe.
So this is not anything that is basically from COVID. This is just a normal, the $39,000 is a normal every month.
Normally, you're going to be around $2,500 to $3,000. It's going to be a normal cut off. You know, this month we're at $39,000 worth of tax.
Okay.
So how's everyone feeling about it?
I think we need to move forward with something, here before us. A lot of other things we may do in between, but I think it's a good idea to move forward with what we have here. At least move forward with something that's better than nothing.
I'm sorry,
Well,
I didn't hear what Mr. Sharp said. I'm sorry.
I said, I think we need to move forward with what's before us because, we got something in the hand that's better than a bullet push.
Okay, yes, okay.
Does this have to be settled tonight?
It doesn't. We have until September 1st to submit our request to the county. However, I do not want to wait any longer than we have to. The sooner we can do that, I think is the better.
Agreed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
there's a motion and a second. I'm calling for a vote.
Okay. Any more questions before we get into this? All right, motion has been made and properly second to move forward with the proposed plan. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. So just one more question. Yes, sir. So this is set in stone. So no changes to this. That is. So this is.
Well, I was going to submit. I'm going to, unless y'all give me other direction, I'm going to submit this to the county. That this is our request for funding for COVID.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
sir.
I agree.
Yes, that is correct.
I had a request to come in from a former employee who worked for the town for 28 and a half years. And our current personnel policy, if you work for the town less than 30 years, you have, between 25 and 30 years, you have to pay for 25% of your health coverage yourself out of pocket. And he is asking the town to amend that policy to allow him to be able to, the town to pay for his insurance at 100%. It is the staff's opinion, and really, this is, I guess you need to look with your attorney for this, but if we do amend that for one person, we need to do it for everybody else who is currently employed with the town or has already retired with anywhere near 28 and a half years of service, so that it's fair across the board.
That's correct. You don't need to change it.
Agreed.
For one, you gotta change it for everybody, or else it costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars before it's over.
And we currently have, I think, and I'm probably gonna screw this number up, I think it's 7 employees that are getting part of their insurance paid by us and part paid by themselves. And we still have probably, and I'm guessing this number is completely pulling out of thin air, is about 40 employees that are still under the personnel policy that will pay for their health insurance when they retire. Which any employees hired after July 1st of 2017, the town no longer is going to pay for their health insurance when they retire. But anybody who was hired prior to June 30th, 2017, they will pay for their health insurance at 100% if they work 30 years, or and less percentages if they work less years. But that was, we were asked to bring that forward to the board. Wanted to make that you're aware of that request, but staff has got to recommend for budgeting purposes that not be entertained or approved. So.
What did Buddy say? I'm sorry, I didn't.
So you won't have to make any changes.
Right, no changes.
Changes.
How does the rest of the council feel about that?
Oh, I totally agree. No changes. Well, I mean, if you do for one, you've got to do for all, and it would break us. I mean, it is extremely expensive, and it would break us. I don't think that's a good idea. I have my hat on tonight.
Yes.
Did everybody hear a motion?
What's your phrase that deny his request?
Mr. Freeman, did you get that? Okay, that was Buddy's suggestion to deny the request is make the motion from that way if you don't mind.
I second. Motion has been made, properly seconded to deny the request for change of post-employment benefits. All in favor? Motion carried.
Just to make y'all aware, just from a numbers perspective, we did with the sale of commercial water and sewer usage dipped quite a bit. We were losing over 20,000, down about $25,000 per month in revenue, and it has come back up. The month that ended in July, we sold approximately the same amount of water in July as we sold in January, so we're back up to where we were. So it took a little slow dip and come back up, and so we are back. With the governor's order off that we could not do disconnects or charge late penalties off. And we opened town hall lobby for the first day today in about 4 months. So unless there's an objection or anything from the board, we're going to move forward with doing cutoffs and doing normal penalties and cutoffs this month. We're going to move forward.
Yes.
And we are under the governor's order. We're going to move forward with doing any payment payment plans that people request for up to 6 months, as requested or as required by the governor's executive order. And we have about 180 people that could qualify for that. We're hoping not that all that many take advantage of it because our software does not allow for payment plans, and so that's something that's going to have to be calculated and done by hand. But staff is gearing up to take care of that and deal with it, to make sure that we can do that. So that's our kind of our plan. And it looks like from a budgeting standpoint, it looks like we're back on track. So there's still some lagging numbers with like utility, franchise taxes and all that we haven't actually got yet. And so it's going to take a little time to get all the full numbers out, but we think we're going to be okay. A couple of things, the board asked us not to do any capital projects until we come back to the board. And so We do have a roof leaking at Public Works in the mechanic shop. So, and I guess I owe you an apology. I did not ask permission on that one. I went ahead and moved forward on fixing the leaking roof before it did more damage. It's one of the things that, you know, it's now when you spend more money fixing later. So we did that. And also, the fire department is asking if, wants to know if we can move forward on buying a lawnmower to mow. We did actually put it in the budget for this year at the fire department. And we think with the limited number of employees we have at Public Works, it's kind of create a little conflict in between at times if who has lawnmowers, because they were borrowing a lawnmower from Public Works. And so unless there's an objection from the board, I'm going to move forward to buying a lawnmower for the use for the fire department. The trucks that y'all talked about us doing a experimental see what we can sell some of the trucks for after we bought new trucks. The brand new, we did buy Dodge trucks, 2020 models, and we paid $25,965 for the new trucks. The used ones we sold, the one that had, they were both 2016s, we ran them for 4.5 years. The one that had 68,000 miles on it, we sold for $26,500. And the one that had 34,000 miles on it, we sold for $29,900.
Sweet.
Once you take into account $600 selling fee that we paid to the auction for auction them off, you pay for the tax, titles, fees that we have to pay for. You have to pay for the equipment, like installing the equipment onto the new trucks. We lost about $1,600 on the on one of the trucks, the one that had 69,000 miles, and we made about $1,600 on the one that had 34,000 miles. So from from staff perspective, we are extremely happy about, we upgraded the trucks basically at virtually no money difference.
Right.
And we would like to put together a plan for upgrading the fleet and turning it more often and keeping a newer fleet here with the town. There's two major factors of what we just did. One is we really don't need to wait 4.5 years before we turn trucks. We need to do it a little sooner than that so we can get more money out of the trucks. However, be aware, because of factories were closed during COVID, there was some limited production going on. Therefore, it drove the aftermarket prices up a little bit. So these aftermarket prices are a little high right now. But if we start turning trucks in about every 2 to 3 years, we believe we can sustain this process of turning the trucks with very, very little cost to upgrade trucks in the future. So is there any objection from the board from us putting together a plan and to upgrade a lot of the vehicles and then start this as a regular rotation?
I think what we do on 4,000 vehicles, but most of them are like 8 or 9 years old. We're going to lost a lot of them.
Yep.
It's not going to be a sweet deal every time. I think the first 2 we sold was our best deal that we would get.
Yep, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. But the idea is once you get that new fleet, and then in 2 years, 3 years from now, as you turn that fleet, it's going to cost us very little money to move forward. Where if we keep the vehicles we have right now, they're going to continue depreciating down. So let's stop the depreciation and go get the new ones. And it's really a benefit for your employees if they get a almost new vehicle, keep almost new vehicle. It reduces our maintenance costs because those vehicles, when they get 7, 8, 10, 12 years on them, the maintenance cost is tremendous on these vehicles. And, you know, you know, we'll, unless there's an objection, we'll put together some numbers of how to upgrade some of the fleet. I know we can't do the entire fleet all at one time. It's not going to be reasonable or possible.
I just don't want to go back our board over there with all them staggering numbers on before we jump off on a bunch of projects with a bunch of new vehicles and some of the older ones we're not going to get with.
And, you know, but I don't want to put a whole lot of money in transmissions and motors and things that eat a lot of money and then is not dependable for us to get the job done either. But if the board's okay, we'd like to look at and see about staff plan of which one vehicles we think we could do the best job of turning right now.
And bring it back.
And bring it back here. We're not going to go out and buy anything because we did not budget anything to buy vehicles.
Right.
We'll bring it back as a whole plan to the board.
I think that's a good idea. Put it together and then we'll look at it. Let's do that. Come forward as we can.
We put in the budget this year for a 2.3% COLA. And we said we're gonna bring that back to the board at some point, so I'm not ready to present that to move forward with anything on that, but just keep that in mind that we are recovering in the economy. We feel like we're recovering strong, so we probably will come back at some point and ask to implement that at some point. But at the same time, going forward, I'm thinking that we need to do something with some type of merit raise. It's not just cost of living. And if we're going to next budget year, if we're going to do some type of merit raises, not just COLA, I want to start doing more employee evaluations geared toward that. But I want to be careful that it always creates a problem if you do a lot of employee evaluations if you don't start tying money to it for your good employees, because all you do is upset them. And so we want to make sure the board's behind us. Is the board going to be okay with if we put a proposal in front of y'all to do some merit raises in next year's budget? When I say next year, I'm talking about 2021, 2022 budget year. It's been a long time since we've done merit raises. It was before I was here. The thought process I was told, and Charles, y'all can probably comment on this more than I can. I think there was some people felt that there was some favoritism before when there was some merit raises given out, more specifically toward certain people based on who they were friends with and how good a job they necessarily doing. Is I think what some of the concerns were in the past that hopefully we can address.
So we have specific like goals and benchmarks that they would be
Right. And like right now, you need to do an evaluation of everybody first and say, okay, yeah, this is where you're at, this is where you need to be, this is what you need to do. And you need to do that now this year and give them some time to.
So are you going to create like a matrix for each employee or each job description? How are you going to do that, Carrie?
We have a standardized form right now that we use for everybody. And what me and Sissy had talked about doing is kind of maybe tweaking that a little bit more and before we move forward with it. And
okay. Because it does have to be fair across the board.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just want to make sure we're not going off the left field somewhere. You know, it's something we don't have to make a decision on right now. We don't need to do until we get back to, budget time. But I want to make sure I wasn't going off the left field somewhere.
Right.
Okay with this. Because it is also hard to motivate people if everybody gets the same raise, no matter how good or how bad of a job you do, or if you don't do anything. Kind of hard to motivate people sometimes.
And the rest of our case study we done last year still on the table too, to get the rest of our employees up where they were recommended to be?
I would hope it is.
Okay.
I would hope it is. Okay. We're good? Let me see what else I got on the list here. Yep, yes, sir.
Tell somebody thank you for getting that morning down all
I think that would be your code enforcement, I think, is who we need to think on that one.
So we had talked about it for 6 months.
The other thing, just a couple more items here. One, the mayor has assigned a state of emergency. We're gonna be under a state of emergency from 6 p.m. tonight till 6 p.m. tomorrow night, and that's mainly for FEMA reimbursement if there is any major cost associated with the storm that's coming in tonight. So, and we are opening, I've already announced we're gonna open the offices at least 3 hours delayed tomorrow morning, based on potential weather coming in. The other thing is, under capital projects, capital things, our Public Works wants to purchase a leak detector that can help detect underground leaks in our water system.
Knew it.
Price on that is about $3,800. And versus them having to search and if you're digging to search, I'm thinking that would definitely pay for itself very quickly. The guy came out and demoed it for our Public Works guys, and he hit a leak dead on where it was over here off of Memorial Drive. So we're thinking that is a piece of equipment that if you do a whole lot of open cuts looking for a leak somewhere underground, it'll pay for itself real quick.
And how many do they do a day? 15?
Depends on who you ask.
Exactly. Whew. I think it's 15 because it seems like that the roads are torn up all the time.
And hopefully that will reduce how big of openings we have to make sometimes too, is one of the goals with that. And then reduce the cost to repave and all that kind of stuff. So that was one of the other capital items that I had on my list. I want to make sure y'all are okay with us moving forward with that. Final thing I have, I just want to make y'all aware of a project that the staff took upon ourselves to do this past October, and it took about 8 months to get this completed. We got the electrical rate codes at the wastewater treatment plant that Dominion uses to bill us changed. And what that allows, we actually got about a little over $15,000 credit back on our bill for the last 6 months. And that's going to be a permanent ongoing savings of between $30,000 and $36,000 a year, permanent ongoing. So we're very happy about that and very excited about it. It's kind of one of those projects that nobody really sees going on behind the scenes. But we work with North Carolina Rural Water to understand the electrical charges and how those rate codes affect us, and we're able to get that done for a permanent ongoing savings of $30,000 to $36,000 a year. So, and Mayor, that's all I have, sir.
Do you have any questions or comments? You need a motion to adjourn?
Oh, Mayor, I do have one more thing.
This guy.
I'm sorry. Y'all noticed we need some appointments for the planning board. Our ordinance says we're going to have 12 people, that 10 of them is on the planning board with 2 alternates, and 7 people on our board of adjustments with 5 alternates. Currently, we only have 2 members whose appointment has not expired. And even if we re-up the appointments for the other people there, that's 5, that still leaves you 5 openings. And so,
The county's supposed to appoint someone.
yeah, the county is supposed to appoint 3 of them, and I know that Mr. Barr on that list, I know is one that's in the county ETJ right now, and I'm not sure who else on that list is on the county that's on that list. But just be aware of that, and be thinking about who you want to appoint, or who we can have, or who might be willing to serve. And it might be real easy to go behind the hospital right now and find people who's willing to serve on the planning board right now. But you know, sometimes it is dangerous to get people who might have a specific agenda, you know, when we get on committees like that. So
How many total do you need?
you need 12 total, and you got 2 active right now, so there's 10 appointments. And there's 5 people that can be reappointed that, is, you know, that's there right now that would need to at least be reappointed if they want to be reappointed and the town council wanted to reappoint those 5.
So we need to go ahead.
And that needs to be looked at next week. Yeah, you can do that at the meeting. The other thing is, y'all have a recommendation coming to y'all next week from the planning board. That to make a helicopter pad, you have to have a 300-foot setback from the property line and 400 foot from residential property. The current hospital property is 520 feet by 650 feet. In order to put a 100-foot by 100-foot helicopter pad, you would have to have a 700-foot by 700-foot piece of property. So it wouldn't even be possible to put it anywhere on the property that the hospital owns.
Or in a hospital.
Yeah.
Or in a hospital.
Or any blocks in a hospital, yeah. So, you know, there's a couple of things. I mean, the board, since y'all have that, y'all can make any changes you want to the planning board's recommendation, or you can send it back to the planning board if y'all would like to send it back to them to ask for, them to consider, how that ordinance would affect, where people could put it. And because put it in there, you basically, that language eliminates being able to put it anywhere. So, because you couldn't even put it where it's currently landing.
At the hospital. I think the folks at Vine are going to have a consultant who is well versed in signing these, and I think they would like the opportunity to be engaged with the planning board for education purposes.
Now
Because we're making decisions without really knowing what the consequences are.
Now based on what Buddy's saying, you can also, according to our ordinance, the council can assign a special committee or special group on items that require specific knowledge, and which I think this is a perfect example of what that would be used for, to convene a special group to come back to the recommendation on what to do. That might be something worth considering too.
If you just let people know that's going to be out there next meeting.
Yeah. That's just so y'all get caught blindsided next meeting. So, and we are required under section 704 to have public hearing before you change the text in the zoning ordinance. And I don't think those hearings have been advertised. If they haven't been, then we're not going to be able to adopt any one of the 3 recommendations to come back to the town council next meeting anyway. So you do have time to think about and respond.
We get a copy.
Yeah, they were in the, they were sent out at the end of last week, but we can get you another copy. They were sent out at the end of last week. We'll get you a copy of that ordinance. So sorry about the jumping back in the stuff. I think I'm through now.
Quick, the motion portion.
All right, any questions or concerns? Can we get a motion to adjourn? Second. Motion is made, properly seconded to adjourn. All in favor? All opposed? We adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
The monthly wedding meeting.
Are we happy here? Tell everybody when we say hello. And tell them to apply for our money because we were all here.
That's like, we're about $60,000 short. Oh, yeah, what's available for the town? If there's something I can use it to